Look, I've told you already. We're not
Sir,
serving
I
you.
just want to order lunch. I haven't done anything wrong.
It's my establishment. I can decide who gets served and who doesn't. And today it's a doesn't.
You're refusing to serve me because I'm black, aren't you?
I don't care about your rights or whatever you think you're owed. This isn't a public park. Go find another place to eat.
This is discrimination. I have every...
A quiet evening, a simple desire for a meal, twisted into an act of profound disrespect. This is a story of how a momentary lapse of decency, fueled by deeply entrenched prejudice, brought down a celebrated establishment and exposed the enduring fragility of civil rights in modern society. Arthur Jenkins, the proprietor behind the Gilded Spoon's ornate facade, was not merely a restaurateur. He was, according to internal city records and confidential settlements, a repeat offender in the quiet, insidious war of prejudice. His establishment had accumulated a staggering 7 formal complaints over the past 5 years, each alleging discrimination based on race or ethnicity. 3 of these complaints, shrouded in the secrecy of non-disclosure agreements, had been settled out of court, effectively buying silence while allowing the underlying issues to fester unchecked and unaddressed. This wasn't an isolated lapse in judgment. It was a deeply ingrained pattern, a systemic rot within the very heart of what was supposed to be a welcoming establishment. Against this backdrop stands Dr. Anya Sharma, a brilliant astrophysicist, a postdoctoral fellow at the prestigious Viridian University, a mind dedicated to unraveling the universe's deepest mysteries. On October 17th, at 7:15 p.m., her credentials, her intellect, her very humanity were dismissed with a wave of a hand simply because of the color of her skin. Her professional standing, her academic achievements, her undeniable contributions to science, all rendered invisible by the arbitrary judgment of one man. The incident, captured on a bystander's phone and later corroborated by police Bodycam, would ignite a firestorm, exposing the uncomfortable truth that even in an age of supposed enlightenment, the fight for basic dignity remains fiercely contested. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop a comment below and hit that subscribe button if you believe accountability is paramount, no matter how powerful the institution or individual. Viridian City, a sprawling metropolis nestled against the shimmering expanse of Lake Monroe, prides itself on its progressive ethos and diverse population. On that crisp autumn evening of October 17th, a gentle breeze carried the scent of fallen leaves and distant wood smoke through the bustling downtown district. Neon signs from upscale boutiques and trendy eateries painted streaks of vibrant color across the rain-slicked cobblestone streets. The Gilded Spoon, Arthur Jenkins' culinary jewel, glowed invitingly on Elmwood Avenue, its polished brass fixtures and warm interior lights promising an evening of refined dining. Inside, the soft murmur of conversation, the clinking of silverware, and the delicate aroma of pan-seared scallops created an atmosphere of sophisticated comfort. Yet, beneath this polished veneer, a different kind of atmosphere had been brewing for years. Dr. Anya Sharma, at 28, was already a force in her field. Born in Bengaluru, India, she immigrated to the United States with her family at the age of 5, her parents sacrificing everything to provide her with opportunities they never had. She excelled from an early age, her innate curiosity driving her to unravel complex problems. A valedictorian of her high school class, she went on to earn her undergraduate degree in physics from MIT, followed by a PhD in astrophysics from Stanford University, where her dissertation on dark matter distribution in galactic clusters garnered international attention. She was a Rhodes Scholar finalist, a recipient of the prestigious Hubble Fellowship, and had already published 3 peer-reviewed papers in Nature Astronomy. Her current role as a postdoctoral fellow at Viridian University placed her at the forefront of astronomical research, working on a groundbreaking project involving gravitational lensing. She had earned her position through sheer intellect, relentless dedication, and an unshakable work ethic. She was, by any measure, an individual of extraordinary accomplishment, a testament to the power of human potential. Arthur Jenkins, on the other hand, presented a different kind of legacy. A man in his late 50s, meticulously dressed, with an air of practiced charm, he had built the Gilded Spoon into a local institution over 2 decades. However, behind the accolades and glowing reviews, a darker pattern emerged from the city's complaint archives. In 2018, the Gilded Spoon faced its first significant public complaint when a group of 4 young black professionals, attempting to celebrate promotion, were refused seating. Jenkins, according to their sworn affidavits, claimed the restaurant was fully booked for a private event, despite numerous empty tables visible through the windows. Within minutes, a white couple without a reservation was seated. The incident was settled out of court for an undisclosed sum, contingent on a non-disclosure agreement. 2 years later, in 2020, a former server, Miguel Rodriguez, filed a wrongful termination suit alleging he was fired after refusing Jenkins's instruction to discourage reservations from certain demographics and seat minority patrons in less visible, less desirable sections of the restaurant. Rodriguez provided audio recordings of Jenkins making disparaging remarks about an Asian family's dining habits, calling them loud and unrefined. That case also saw a confidential settlement. In early 2023, a black couple, celebrating their anniversary, reported being deliberately overcharged for a premium bottle of wine, a discrepancy they only discovered after comparing their bill to an identical order placed by a white couple at an adjacent table. The incident was dismissed by Jenkins as a clerical error, but the couple's online review, detailing their experience, went viral locally, accumulating thousands of shares before being quietly removed by the platform. The pattern was clear, insidious, and deeply unsettling. Arthur Jenkins, and by extension, the Gilded Spoon, operated under a cloud of systemic, racially motivated discrimination, often hidden behind a veil of exclusivity or policy. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was a deeply ingrained practice, a part of the restaurant's unspoken culture. On the evening of October 17th, Dr. Anya Sharma had completed a particularly demanding set of simulations for her research. Feeling a quiet sense of accomplishment, she decided to treat herself to a solo dinner at the Gilded Spoon, a restaurant she had often passed but never visited. She dressed smartly but casually, in a tailored blazer, dark slacks, and a silk blouse, professional yet comfortable. She arrived precisely at 7:15 p.m., hoping to secure a table for one. The hostess, a young woman with a polite but harried demeanor, informed her there would be a short wait. Anya nodded, understanding, and moved to the small waiting area near the entrance. Moments later, Arthur Jenkins himself emerged from the kitchen, surveying the dining room. His eyes, sharp and assessing, landed on Anya. He paused, a flicker of something unreadable crossing his face. Then the confrontation began. Jenkins approached the hostess, speaking in a low, conspiratorial tone, occasionally glancing at Anya. The hostess's face grew increasingly uncomfortable. She then turned to Anya, her voice strained. "I'm so sorry, ma'am, but seem to become unexpectedly fully booked. There are no tables available tonight." Anya, observing several empty tables and others being prepared, raised an eyebrow. "I understand that there's a wait, but I can see at least 3 open tables right now, and I was just told it would be a short wait." Jenkins, stepping forward, interjected with a dismissive wave of his hand, his voice laced with an artificial cordiality that barely masked his condescension. "My apologies, madam, but these tables are reserved. And quite frankly, our establishment caters to a very specific clientele. I'm afraid we don't have anything suitable for you this evening." Anya felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. "Suitable? What exactly does that mean, Mr. Jenkins?" she asked, her voice steady despite the tremor of indignation rising within her. "Are you implying I don't fit your clientele?" Jenkins bristled, his practiced smile faltering. "We have a certain ambience, a decorum. Our patrons expect a certain standard. Perhaps you would be more comfortable at a different establishment." He gestured vaguely towards the street. Anya, now fully aware of the thinly veiled prejudice, pulled out her Viridian University ID. "I am Dr. Anya Sharma, a postdoctoral fellow at Viridian University. I assure you, I am perfectly capable of meeting any standard your restaurant might uphold." Jenkins scoffed, a sneer twisting his lips. "Anyone can fake that. We have our policies. And my policy is that we are fully booked." The exchange, growing louder, began to draw the attention of nearby diners and staff. A young couple at the bar discreetly pulled out their phones, beginning to record. Anya, her voice now ringing with quiet authority, stated, "This is racial discrimination, Mr. Jenkins, and it is illegal." Jenkins's face hardened, his pretense of civility completely gone. "Get out of my restaurant." You are disrupting my business." Just then, a uniformed Viridian City police officer, Officer David Miller, who had been on his dinner break at the bar, approached, alerted by the commotion. He had witnessed the tail end of the exchange. "What's going on here?" he asked, his hand instinctively going to his belt. Jenkins immediately turned to the officer, his demeanor shifting to one of aggrieved authority. "Officer, thank God. This woman is causing a scene, harassing my staff, and refusing to leave. She's claiming discrimination. It's utter nonsense. I'm simply refusing service to a disruptive patron." Anya, calm and composed, stepped forward. "Officer, I was just refused service by Mr. Jenkins because he said I don't fit his clientele. I believe he means because I am a black woman. I showed him my university ID, and he dismissed it, saying anyone can fake that. There are empty tables, and he's clearly fabricating reasons to deny me service." Officer Miller, a relatively new recruit, looked between the two, an uncomfortable expression on his face. He seemed hesitant, clearly influenced by Jenkins's established presence in the community. He began to ask Anya for her identification, seemingly accepting Jenkins's narrative without question. Should officers be required to verify claims of discrimination on the spot, rather than immediately siding with one party? What level of evidence should trigger immediate intervention from law enforcement in civil rights cases? As Officer Miller questioned Anya, a senior officer, Sergeant Elena Ramirez entered the Gilded Spoon, having been dispatched to a disturbance call. Ramirez, a veteran of the force known for her no-nonsense approach and adherence to protocol, immediately assessed the situation. She saw Jenkins, red-faced and agitated, pointing at Anya, who stood calmly but firmly, her university ID still clutched in her hand. Ramirez approached Officer Miller and spoke in a low, firm tone. "Miller, what's happening here? Did you get the full story?" After a quick briefing from Miller, Ramirez turned to Jenkins. "Mr. Jenkins, is it true you refuse this woman's service?" Jenkins, attempting to regain his composure, repeated his story about disruptive patrons and full bookings. Ramirez's gaze sharpened. "Mr. Jenkins, I understand you run a business, but denying service based on race is a violation of state and federal law. We have a duty to investigate such claims thoroughly. Officer Miller, did you verify the restaurant's booking status? Did you observe Ms. Sharma being disruptive prior to refusal?" Miller shifted uncomfortably. Ramirez then turned to Anya. "Dr. Sharma, do you wish to file a formal complaint?" Anya nodded, her eyes unwavering. Sergeant Ramirez then addressed Jenkins directly, her voice cutting to the restaurant's awkward silence. "Mr. Jenkins, I will need to review your reservation log for tonight, and I will be interviewing your staff and any witnesses. This incident is now under formal investigation." Her immediate intervention, her direct challenge to Jenkins's authority, and her insistence on gathering evidence marked a turning point. The badge and weapon of the law, for once, were aligned with the victim, not the aggressor. The immediate resolution that evening was a tense standoff. Sergeant Ramirez, after reviewing the reservation log and confirming numerous empty tables, informed Arthur Jenkins that his refusal of service to Dr. Sharma appeared to be a direct violation of civil rights law. She advised him to either seat Dr. Sharma immediately or face a formal complaint to the Human Rights Commission, in addition to her own police report. Jenkins, fuming but seeing the writing on the wall, begrudgingly offered Anya a table. Anya, however, declined. Her dignity, she stated, could not be bought back with a forced meal. She filed her formal complaint with Sergeant Ramirez, who ensured the entire incident was meticulously documented, including statements from the recording bystanders and Officer Miller's initial, albeit flawed, report. The Bodycam footage from both officers would prove to be damning evidence, capturing Jenkins's dismissive remarks, his refusal to acknowledge Anya's credentials, and his thinly veiled racial animus. Within hours, the bystander videos, uploaded to social media platforms, exploded. The hashtag Gilded Prejudice began trending nationally. One video, showing Jenkins sneering, "Anyone can fake that" remark, garnered over 10 million views in less than 24 hours, shared by celebrities, civil rights activists, and ordinary citizens alike. Local news outlets picked up the story, interviewing Anya, who recounted her experience with quiet strength. The Gilded Spoon social media pages were deluged with one-star reviews and condemnation, its meticulously cultivated reputation crumbling in real time. The incident became a symbol of a deeper, more pervasive issue. Should business owners who engage in blatant discrimination face automatic termination of their business license, rather than merely financial penalties? Is a fine enough deterrent for such egregious behavior? The institutional responses were swift and severe. Viridian University issued a powerful statement condemning the discrimination against Dr. Sharma, pledging full support for any legal action she chose to pursue. Civil rights organizations, including the local chapter of the NAACP and the ACLU, immediately offered their legal counsel. Within a week, Dr. Anya Sharma, represented by a coalition of prominent civil rights attorneys, filed a landmark lawsuit against Arthur Jenkins and the Gilded Spoon. The claims were explicit racial discrimination, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and violation of both state and federal civil rights statutes. The lawsuit sought not only compensatory and punitive damages, but also a permanent injunction against Jenkins operating any public-facing business in Viridian City. The legal battle was intense, but the evidence was overwhelming. The Bodycam footage, the bystander videos, the testimony of Sergeant Ramirez, and crucially, the historical pattern of complaints against the Gilded Spoon painted an undeniable picture of systemic prejudice. Facing insurmountable evidence and crippling public pressure, Arthur Jenkins and his legal team entered settlement negotiations. On January 12th, 3 months after the incident, a settlement was reached. Arthur Jenkins and the Gilded Spoon agreed to pay Dr. Anya Sharma a staggering $1.2 million in damages. It was, at the time, the largest settlement of its kind in Viridian City's history. For a public accommodation discrimination case, a clear message that such behavior would not be tolerated. The financial blow was devastating, but the consequences for Arthur Jenkins did not end there. The Viridian City Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, citing the overwhelming evidence of repeated discriminatory practices in the settlement, initiated proceedings to revoke the Gilded Spoon's business license. On February 1st, the department issued its final ruling. Arthur Jenkins has demonstrated a persistent and egregious pattern of discrimination, the official revocation letter stated, failing to uphold the fundamental principles of fair public accommodation. His actions are not merely a violation of law, but an affront to the values of our community. Effective immediately, the business license for the Gilded Spoon is permanently revoked. The Gilded Spoon, once a beacon of Viridian City's dining scene, was forced to close its doors forever, its polished brass fixtures now reflecting only the harsh light of accountability. Arthur Jenkins, stripped of his business and his reputation, was effectively decertified from operating any similar establishment within the city limits. In the wake of the settlement and the closure of the Gilded Spoon, Dr. Anya Sharma delivered a powerful testimony that resonated far beyond Viridian City. Speaking at a press conference, her voice clear and strong, she addressed the systemic nature of the incident. "If this can happen to me," she began, a postdoctoral fellow at a prestigious university, a woman with multiple degrees, and a career dedicated to scientific inquiry, what hope do others have? What about the countless individuals who do not have the resources, the platform, or the undeniable evidence to fight back? This was not just about a table at a restaurant. This was about the insidious, dehumanizing assumption that because of my skin color, I am somehow unsuitable, unworthy, or less than. It was about the daily microaggressions that build up, eroding trust and dignity, until they erupt into overt acts of prejudice. My degrees, my accomplishments, my very identity were dismissed in an instant. This incident proves that even in environments we believe to be progressive, the battle against systemic bias is far from over. Her words struck a chord, emphasizing that discrimination is not merely an individual act of malice, but a symptom of deeper societal failings. Should this incident, and the undeniable pattern of behavior exposed, trigger a federal investigation into similar patterns of discrimination within the hospitality industry nationwide, the Viridian City Human Rights Commission, spurred by the public outcry and irrefutable evidence, launched its own comprehensive review. Their findings, released 3 months later, were stark. They identified systemic failures within the city's oversight mechanisms, a lack of proactive enforcement, an over-reliance on individual complaints rather than pattern analysis, and insufficient training for businesses on anti-discrimination laws. The report concluded that Jenkins's actions were not an anomaly, but rather the predictable outcome of a system that allowed subtle and overt biases to fester unchecked. The commission specifically highlighted the culture of silence created by confidential settlements, which prevented the public disclosure of discriminatory patterns. In response, Viridian City announced a series of sweeping reforms. These included mandatory annual anti-bias and diversity training for all public-facing businesses seeking or renewing a city license. A new 3 strikes policy for confirmed discrimination complaints was instituted, with the 3rd strike leading to automatic revocation of a business license. The city also established a more accessible, anonymous reporting system for discrimination, coupled with a dedicated task force to proactively investigate repeat offenders. Furthermore, all future settlements involving discrimination claims against businesses would require public disclosure, preventing the use of non-disclosure agreements to hide systemic issues. The case of Dr. Anya Sharma and Arthur Jenkins is more than just a story of individual injustice. It is a stark illustration of how easily bias can override evidence, how quickly credentials can be dismissed when prejudice takes hold. The consequences for Arthur Jenkins were severe: financial ruin, the loss of his business, and a permanently tarnished reputation. For Dr. Sharma, the victory was bittersweet, a testament to her resilience, but also a painful reminder of the battles still to be fought. Her dignity, though temporarily bruised, ultimately triumphed, forcing accountability where it had long been avoided. The challenge now is not just to celebrate this victory, but to ask, what changes now? Will these reforms be sufficient to dismantle the insidious structures of bias that persist in our communities? Or will they merely provide a temporary salve to a deeply rooted wound? We must demand more than just reactive measures. We must envision a society where dignity is inherent, not earned, and where a person's worth is never judged by the color of their skin. Should cities implement even stricter 3 strikes policies for discrimination, leading to permanent business closure on the first proven instance of egregious racial bias? Or should all business owners be personally liable for discrimination, with their assets on the line? We're not stopping here. This conversation, this fight for justice, it's about all of us. It's about ensuring that every individual, regardless of their background, can walk into any establishment, any institution, and be treated with the fundamental respect they deserve. Your voice matters. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button, and subscribe to join a community dedicated to holding power accountable.